I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor at Gold Derby here with Sterlin Harjo, co-creator and producer on Reservation Dogs. Sterlin, what legacy will Res Dogs leave for TV and pop culture in years to come, do you think?
I mean, I think that anytime you can create something that is the first of its kind is very special. I don't know, I think that legacy is a weird word because I can't predict, but I hope that people recognize it as a very truthful show and something that spoke to the human experience, not just Native people's experience, but something that was very specific and was able to reach out and really touch people from all walks of life. I think that is the legacy that it leaves behind.
Yeah, I think that's spot on because it's not like I was very familiar with stories about people from Oklahoma and about people from Indigenous backgrounds. And
Yeah.
yet, as groundbreaking as the series is as a showcase for those communities and storytellers, it's so relatable and universal as a show about coming of age and community and family. Do you get that feedback often from fans of the show about what it means to them?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the most overwhelming, I think, is just the feedback that I get from fans from everywhere. Um, and how relatable it is for people. I come from a really small town, and Reservation Dogs is based on that town and based on my experience. So it's like, it's very interesting and kind of a crazy thought to have created something that reaches so many people. I think that the flood of personal messages about what the show has done for people has been one of the sweetest and most overwhelmingly great things about making this show.
When you first embarked on it years ago now, time flies. Was it difficult to pitch and then finally land a show where you're saying Indigenous voices are not only going to be front and center on screen, but it's actually going to be behind the camera as well? You're going to control that narrative. Was there any pushback, or was that a pretty easy sell for you?
Yeah, not at the moment. Diversity got really cool in the last few years. So it felt like an easy conversation to have. But I feel like I've been working on it since I was young. So it's a really weird, it's a hard thing to answer because I've been working towards this for so long. And I knew that, I wanted to show Native humor, but also just the truth of our communities and how we live. And there's been a perpetual lie that's been sort of put on us and that we fed into ourselves, I think, since the beginning I mean, it was in books and movies and TV shows up until the last few years. And, I don't know. I think that it wasn't hard because by the time I had got here, my philosophy on why this was important was solidified. Also, having Taika Waititi walk you into FX and him telling you tell them to listen to you really helps a lot too. And on top of that, FX has been really great to work with and just gave me the freedom. And they never asked a question about having Native people behind the camera. And obviously with Atlanta, they did some similar things. So I think that they recognized that there were strengths in that, and it wasn't them sort of accepting something or having to agree or be pushed into. It was something that would make the show better.
Absolutely. I love how certain shows like Reservation Dogs are really good at making us think and also really good at making us laugh. That's a really difficult thing to get right. And I'm wondering how challenging was it for you day to day to gauge when to shift in any particular scene between the comedy and the dramatic elements? Like in most melancholy elements in life, sometimes it
Right.
can be inexplicably funny, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm just attracted to that kind of storytelling. I mean, if I have to stay with one sort of genre, for lack of a better word, it would be comedies that are dramatic and dramas that are comedic, and I think that like Taika and I, whenever before we even worked on this, we talked a lot about like Hal Ashby films and even Robert Altman, and I think that those films really capture both. And I don't know. I don't know that it's a trick. I don't know that it's hard because it's fairly effortless to me. I think it might be the way that I grew up. I think it might be the way that stories were told around my kitchen table. I think that as Native people, you're born into a rebellion. I mean, you're literally the rebel. You're literally born into this fight. And even if it's not a fight in your life, you know that your ancestors went through a fight, and you know that you're here by the grace of God and people that came before you. So that's all in you, and that's dramatic. And then also, I think that our humor is a way to survive. So those things just blend together. And I'm not saying that we have the copyright on that, but like, that's what I'm drawn to. And that's what I think a lot of Native people are drawn to. It just so happens to also be like one of my favorite ways of telling stories. And it also happens to be a lot of people's, like a lot of people love it. Like a lot of people enjoy that sort of, roller coaster of like go back and forth. And I think that, I don't know, it's never something that I'm thinking about all day. I think about it when I write, but it comes out naturally. And then when we're shooting, you might shoot something different that's comedy or dramatic, you might approach it differently, but for the most part, it's in the script and it's baked into the DNA of the story. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not super.
I still think like you got credit where credit's due. I think it could come across forced or just not earned, and I just felt like I never felt that way watching this show. And I always felt so comfortable being able to have a really good belly laugh and then to feel this gut punch within minutes. And that is so special.
It was abusive a little bit.
Yeah. I know you get a lot of questions about why did you end it now? And I've read a lot of those interviews and I totally understand and get where you're coming from. I'm more interested actually in when you decided it's time to close the shop down and where you're moving on. What was those last final days or moments even on set like? Was it just run of the mill, or was it something that was it a core memory?
It was something that I think had been there since the writer's room, but I didn't know because, we were into the shoot when we were finishing some of the last episodes. And I remember writing the episode, having Tasman Migazi writing producers come over, and we read the script together. And it was kind of like this breathtaking moment of like all of us recognizing and looking at each other that that's it, like that's the way we should end it. Originally I'd wanted to do a whole season of the 1970s. There's one episode in season 3 of the 1970s that didn't work out. And it felt like it would be forced if I tried to go further than that. It was always going to end at this moment. I thought there might be some more in between by the time we get there. But as I was writing it, it was like, oh, no, this is it. There was something really emotional, something really gratifying, something very sad. I love these characters. I love this world. And I love that we were able to end it when we thought it should be ended. I think that that's very important. And every episode, every character is based on someone in my life. So it's very personal to me. And so ending it was not an easy decision. It was tough. And I went to set, and first thing that I did was I grabbed all the actors and all the kids and just told them this might be happening. Like I realized last night this might be happening. I don't know if it's going to happen, but like this might be happening. There was disbelief, there were hugs, there were like hell yes, but in the end it did, and it felt good.
So cool. So thank you for your time today. We'll bring you back right now for our